Tom Selleck was married in 1987 using a fictitious name. The minister didn't even know who he was. They forgot the marriage license and had to hurry to get it fixed before dinner. That covert wedding was only the beginning. A scandal about stealing water, a death on site by helicopter, and a son who became addicted. Tom said on live TV that he might lose everything by 2025. This is the story of a man who had everything and saw it all fall apart. On January 29, 1945, Tom Selleck was born in Detroit. His father, Robert, worked as a real estate investor, and his mother, Martha, stayed home to take care of the family. Robert was also in the Army at the time, working on B-29 bombers during World War II. Tom was the second kid. Bob, his older brother, came a year earlier in 1944. Later, two more siblings, Martha and Daniel, came along. At the time, they lived in Detroit, a noisy city full of manufacturers. But things will soon shift completely for Tom as a child. In 1948, when Tom was only 3 years old, his father made a momentous choice. He moved the whole family from Detroit to California. He worked with Coldwell Banker in Los Angeles on a commission-only basis. That meant no compensation and no promise of a payday. There was a lot of risk. They moved to Sherman Oaks, which was still primarily farmland at the time. Robert thought California had greater chances, and that gamble paid out later. He was making $70,000 a year in commissions by 1960, which was about the same as what the president made. But it wasn't easy for Tom to grow up in California. He began to get taller than everyone else. He finally got to be 6 feet 4 inches. He stood out in every class, even when he was a kid. He felt out of place and awkward in school, which made it hard at times, but he slowly learned to make his height work for him. He joined the Grant High School basketball team and quickly became one of the best players. He also played baseball. His body, his ability to coordinate, and his focus helped him get up. But that didn't imply things were easy. Something happened when Tom was 17 that could have changed everything. He was in a car with two pals going down the treacherous curves of Mulholland Drive. The car lost control, flew through the air, and crashed. His mom's red Chevy Corvette was it. He wrote about the accident in the first chapter of his 2024 memoir, You Never Know. They lived, but it altered Tom for the rest of his life. It made him think more and be more careful. He never forgot how close he was to death. Robert did well in the end, but the first few years in California were challenging. The family had a hard time with money. Tom worked, then. He worked part-time at a clothes business while he was in high school. He maintained working there even after he started taking acting classes. He also chose Valley Junior College since it let him live at home and not have to pay for housing. He went back to the business right away, even though he had joined the acting program at 20th Century Fox and then lost that chance. He never thought work was beneath him. He did what he needed to do. He had always wanted to go to USC, but at first they didn't give him a scholarship. He rejected a full basketball scholarship to Montana State because he wanted USC so much. First, he worked, saved, and went to Valley College. He finally got into USC in 1965. He was on the basketball squad, but he only scored 4 points in 7 games. The next season, he didn't score in 3 games. The squad stated he was fast, but his defense may use some work. His hopes of being a sports star quickly disappeared. He sought part-time work while studying business. He was a student rep for United Airlines. His Sigma Chi fraternity friends made him participate on the dating game in 1965 and again in 1967. In both cases, he lost. It was embarrassing, but that embarrassment somehow led to something good. A casting agent observed him and gave him a chance to try out for a Pepsi ad. He got the role. He only had to shoot a basketball on camera. He drank so much Pepsi while filming that he got sick. That ad brought in $1,000, which led to his offer from 20th Century Fox. But then the Vietnam War changed everything. Tom got his draft notification in 1967. He joined the 160th Infantry of the California National Guard instead of going to war. From 1967 to 1973, he was in the military for 6 years. He trained at the California Military Academy and then became a sergeant and eventually a second lieutenant. He even went to Los Angeles to deal with the Watts riots at one point. But it cost a lot. Fox let him go while he was still in office. He kept his uniform in the trunk of his car so he could wear it whenever he needed to, even during auditions. He went back to acting and trained at the Beverly Hills Playhouse under Milton Katselas. It was very intense. Katselas was a tough teacher. Some people remarked it felt more like a cult than a school. When he went in, the students had to get up and clap. He yelled and put pressure on. He urged the performers to tear their own hair out to get angry. Some people said he was abusive. Some people thought he was bright. Tom, on the other hand, remained with it. He put up with everything. Many people thought that Katselas was using the class to recruit people, even though he never joined Scientology. Tom worked as a model for Salem cigarettes to make money when he was in college. He was tall and looked good, which made him a great choice for commercials. He made more money doing those cigarette ads than he did working for United Airlines. But after he became famous with Magnum PI, those old advertising came back to haunt him. They asked him why he had told them to smoke. He despised being asked those questions. He didn't want people to remember him as the guy who sold smokes to kids. He attempted to stay away from it without saying anything. From 1965 until 1967, the dating game tormented him. He lost twice on national TV, which made him doubt everything. He told AARP that it was the most embarrassing thing he had ever done. His attractiveness didn't do him any good. His charm didn't work. He began to feel like he didn't belong on TV. The second loss hurt more than the first. He remembered that memory for years. He earned a part in Judd for the Defense in 1969. It was a big deal. Then something silly happened. He got dismissed from another show solely because he was too tall. He was 6 feet 4 inches, which made the other performers look small. Directors didn't know how to film sequences with him. One agent even said that his height was a concern. Think about getting fired because of your height. It was hard to take. He had to take little parts for years simply to stay in the game. He was in 6 episodes of The Rockford Files between 1974 and 1979. He was a detective named Lance White. It should have improved his career, but he and the star, James Garner, didn't get along behind the scenes. Tom wanted his character to seem authentic. Garner wanted Lance to act like a fool, like a joke. They fought about tone, lines, and direction. It was clear that there was tension. Some scenes were changed throughout filming. The crew could sense the gap. The arguments made the labor feel hard. He was in a low-budget horror movie called Daughters of Satan in 1972. The Philippines was where it was filmed. The set wasn't safe. The special effects didn't work in the fire sequence. The real flames got too close. Tom sustained several little burns. His hair got burned. The workers couldn't even talk to each other. They had to finish the movie, even if they didn't speak the same language. Nobody said what truly happened. The studio hid it. Tom was afraid, but he had to keep going. In 1976, he had a short part in Charlie's Angels. He performed the part of a boyfriend, but he was let go after just 1 episode. Leonard Goldberg said that Tom's height made the Angels look too little. They said there was no spark between them. The show became very popular. Tom, on the other hand, went back to doing ads. He was so poor that he just had one suit and wore it to every audition. Robert Saline, who directed a soap ad, noted that Tom wore that same costume on and off camera. Tom Selleck almost turned down the part that made him famous. He didn't like the original script for Magnum PI when he first read it. He wasn't the smart, humorous person we know today. The first script turned Magnum into a cartoon version of James Bond. He lived in a house on the cliffs by the sea, had a mean dog, and even a hang glider with machine guns. Selleck glanced at the producers and stated, "I don't want to play what I look like." He had already tried to make 6 pilots that didn't work. He thought this was his final chance. But he wasn't going to pretend. "I want a character with humor, not just action," he told Donald Bellisario. Bellisario listened. He reworked the whole thing while they were already filming. The modification made CBS concerned and delayed production, but ultimately saved the show and Selleck's job. Tom met a woman in 1984 who changed everything for him, even though he was still married to Jacqueline Ray. Gilly Mack was her name. She was a British actress who danced in the West End version of Cats. Tom was captivated with the show. He kept going back over and over. Jane Seymour, his co-star, felt it was odd. She replied, "I liked Cats, but I didn't understand why he went back 12 times." Tabloids went crazy at the moment. There were rumors of an affair. People followed him and her around, attempting to prove something. Gilly didn't even know who Tom was. 3 months ago, someone took her TV. She had never watched Magnum P.I., but after the episodes, they would have quiet meals. Tom divorced Jacqueline in 1982, but people still asked if Jill was one of the reasons. That shadow stayed with them for years. Tom almost played Indiana Jones in 1980, just before Magnum really took off. George Lucas and Steven Spielberg picked him. They liked how well he got along with Shaw Young throughout the tryout. But there was an issue. Tom had already made a deal with CBS. He told Spielberg the truth. CBS didn't want to lose him. Bob Daly at CBS was quite clear. No movie. Then the irony hit me. The Screen Actors Guild went on strike in 1980, which stopped filming on Magnum for 6 months. That was the exact time he might have filmed Raiders of the Lost Arkansas. Tom stayed in Hawaii instead. Harrison Ford, on the other hand, took the job and became a world-famous star. Tom subsequently remarked, "I didn't see myself as a victim, but I wasn't happy about it." That one choice may have cost him more than $100 million. That year, something terrible happened on set. During filming, a helicopter crash killed 33-year-old camera operator Robert Vanderkar. Robert Sanders, the pilot, lived, but he was hurt terribly. They were filming a normal ocean scene off the shore of Oahu. When the helicopter crashed, Sanders jumped over and over again to try to save Vanderkar. He never got out. Tom was heartbroken. He wanted things to change. He and Universal Studios disagreed about safety. He wanted more coordinators, backup helicopters, and good briefings. Studios said it was too expensive. Tom stated, "It's lives we're talking about." His stand finally led to improvements in the whole business. More than 50 million people watched the last program on May 1, 1988, but behind the scenes, it was a war. CBS wants to discontinue it early. In season 7, they tried to kill Magnum. He was shot, went into a coma, and the last shot showed him wandering toward the light. But supporters were quite angry. CBS had to bring him back for the 8th season. They spent millions on it. The budget has soared to $1.2 million per episode. They told Tom to stop filming on location, get rid of the helicopters, and hire less expensive actors. He said no. He thought it would destroy the performance. It turned into a quarrel all the time. Tom didn't only play a part in Magnum. He kept it safe. Tom was in 3 Men and a Baby in 1987. It made a lot of money, $167 million. But something odd happened. In one moment, spectators saw a boy standing still behind the drapes. People started saying that the flat was haunted. Some people stated that a boy had died there. The story got bigger. Tom talked about it on The Tonight Show years later. Ted Danson's cardboard cutout was left over from a scene that was edited. The movie wasn't shot in a real apartment, it was shot on a soundstage in Toronto. People still liked the ghost story. The rumor was never fixed by Disney. Some people thought it helped sell more VHS cassettes. Tom filmed Quigley Down Under in the rugged Australian desert in 1990. It wasn't simple. He rode horses, did tricks, and worked in harsh situations. He didn't like the heat, the terrain, or the way Aussie workers operated. Roger Ebert loved his acting, but the movie didn't go well. It had a hard time making back its money. Tom stated it was one of his proudest roles, though. Tom was back on the list when Batman came out in 1989. Mel Gibson, Kevin Costner, and even Charlie Sheen were there. Michael Keaton got it. At first, fans didn't like that choice. Warner Brothers got 50,000 protest letters, yet the movie still made $411 million. It changed superhero movies for good. Tom said no because comic book movies weren't very popular at the time and he was still working on Magnum. He then said he was sorry he did it. Mr. Baseball came out in 1992. Tom played a Yankees great who was transported to Japan to die. It was funny, but also strange. The movie illustrated how American and Japanese baseball are different in terms of culture. Tom worked hard, and the movie became a lesson for genuine athletes going to Japan. But the box office wasn't very good. Critics thought it seemed messy. He hadn't missed a significant chance in years. Then it came and went in 1997. For 12 whole seconds, Tom kissed Kevin Kline on TV. That one moment surprised his fans. He has given money to Republican campaigns and served on the NRA board. People wanted to know if the part went against his beliefs. He remarked, "I make faces in front of a camera. That doesn't make me Solomon." He was acting and playing the character. The kiss made news, but it also made it easier for other LGBTQ+ characters to be in mainstream movies. Tom was Monica's older lover on Friends from 1995 to 2000. He was in 10 episodes. He had difficulties with Chandler's snarky tone while they were filming. He kept asking Matthew Perry for help. The crowd went crazy when Perry tried to replicate Tom's mustache. Tom's character made a joke about it later, "Nice mustache. When puberty hits, it'll kick in." The cast laughed out loud. Tom sought to make a huge TV comeback with The Closer in 1998. It didn't work. There were only 10 episodes. The ratings weren't good. People who didn't like it didn't like it. Tom was heartbroken. He took a whole year off to go to his 63-acre ranch. He stated it taught him how to deal with failure and bounce back. Then Jesse Stone showed up. He was in 9 TV movies based on Robert B. Parker's books from 2005 to 2015. He even helped write the later ones. They were popular with elderly viewers and outperformed network shows in the ratings, but a claim of copying hurt them a lot. Another writer alleged that Tom stole his ideas. There was a hidden agreement. No one said anything about it in public. The movies went on till 2015. Tom was on Boston Legal in 2006. It should have been easy, but the show's liberal cast didn't get along with his real-life NRA role. The scripts made fun of gun control. Things got worse. During table reads, the cast members questioned his ideas. Tom claimed afterward that this was one of the reasons he left the NRA board in 2018. People liked his part in Ike Countdown to D-Day in 2004. He filmed it in New Zealand. Each day lasted 18 hours. The stress was too much, and it almost damaged his marriage to Jill Mack. He remarked that the filming took a lot out of him, both mentally and physically. He didn't simply play Eisenhower, it affected his real life as well. Tom played Frank Reagan in Blue Bloods from 2010 to 2024. He was the actor who made the most money, getting $200,000 for each episode. But in 2023, CBS told the performers to take a 25% wage cut to keep the show on the air. Tom said yes. He lost $1 million. The show was still canceled, though. He stated he was angry. He asked CBS to change their minds. The last episode aired on December 13, 2024. He read a poem. The casting crew cried, but CBS didn't change their minds. Tom hurt his knee while doing a stunt in 2015. It caused discomfort for years. In 2025, he had both of his knees replaced. There were long scars in the pictures. He had a hard time walking and required a truck to help him. He needed aid with even the simplest situations, but he kept going. He came up with the idea for the family meal sequences on Blue Bloods. He wanted them to feel like his own family. But he argued with writers behind the scenes. He thought some of the storylines were too woke. The cast had ways to avoid eating. Vanessa Ray ate 17 rolls before she learned. Tom just put butter on his. Filming ceased when CO hit in 2020. Tom stayed at his ranch. He was 75 years old. He began to feel the burden of everything: dread, agony, and age. He said he was depressed in his 2024 memoir, You Never Know. The arthritis was becoming worse. He needed aid to walk. Every shoot was hard. But he did come. In 1971, Tom Selleck married Jaqueline Ray, a model who was there for him when no one else knew his name. She was there for him during his worst years when he couldn't get acting work and didn't have much money. She had faith in him for more than 10 years. But things changed when he became renowned in the early 1980s on Magnum PI. Temptations and fame came quickly. Jacqueline started seeing him on TV with local ladies when they were filming in Hawaii. That's when it hit her. The man she loved and stood by through everything was fading away. His friends stated he loved living on the island and getting attention. She felt like she had been let down. She got a car, a house, and support for 3 years after their divorce in 1982, but it was just for 3 years. That was all. In 1987, just 5 years later, Tom was married again, but this time it was a secret. Since 1983, he had been captivated with a 25-year-old British dancer named Gilly Mack. He watched her in Cats over and over again. On August 7, 1987, they got married at Lake Tahoe, but they used fictitious names. Tom changed his name to Tom Jenkins, and Jill changed hers to Susie Mark. The minister was fooled to the very end. They forgot the marriage license, so they had to send someone to Reno to get it fixed before supper. There were only family members there. No media, just Polaroid cameras to keep things secret. But even though it was secret, the marriage had problems. In the beginning, Tom's workaholic methods almost ruined it. They even required help from a therapist. Their daughter Hannah was born in 1988. Tom's 63-acre avocado ranch in Ventura County was where she was born. It looked like a dream life at first. But later, Tom said that the ranch's solitude made things difficult. He left Magnum PI because he felt like a ghost in his own house. He said he wanted more than simply a job. But filming kept him away. Hannah spent a lot of her early years alone, with animals instead of pals. 13 dogs, cows, sheep, bunnies, and horses. Life was calm and occasionally lonely. She remarked that without her parents' help, ranch life could have drowned her, and horses were her escape. In 1987, when Kevin was 21, Tom also adopted Jacqueline's son, Kevin. But Kevin's life wasn't easy either. His mother pondered about sending him to boarding school when he was only 15. In his 20s, he began to drink a lot. Tom had to take him to the Betty Ford Center for recovery. Kevin still had a hard time following that. In 2011, he was sued for more than $6,000 in credit card debt. Kevin couldn't seem to find his way, even though Tom was famous and rich. Tom's friends say he tried everything: money, guidance, and independence, but nothing worked. The worry affected everyone in the household. Kevin finally got married and had 6 kids. Sources say he got better, but the pain stayed. Tom bought that same 63-acre ranch from Dean Martin in 1988 for $5 million. But the peace didn't last long. The Water District sued him in 2015 for allegedly taking 1.4 million gallons of water. California was in the middle of one of its worst droughts ever, and he had to cut back by 36% in his area. Tom sent a tanker truck to fill up with water from a public hydrant 8 meters distant 12 times, according to investigators. It cost the district $21,685 merely to show it. That's how much Tom had to spend to end the case and cease sipping water. But that wasn't the only problem at the property. The harsh droughts killed almost all of his 2,500 avocado trees by 2023. There were even 25 oak trees that had been there for more than 100 years that died. Tom, who is now 79, claimed it crushed his heart. He said in 2012 that it has always been hard to make money from avocados. He once said, "I don't even like them. Why eat them when I can sell them?" But by 2023, the business was completely gone. Then, 2024 came. Blue Bloods, the show that had been on the longest, was cancelled. Tom made $200,000 each episode, which is nearly $4.8 million a season. But he told CBS that he wasn't sure if he could afford the property without working. He said, "Am I set for life? Yes, but not necessarily on a 63-acre ranch." He had borrowed $15 to $16 million in the 2000s, but the ranch was now worth $12 million. No one knew how much was still owed. Tom even told CBS that he would cut salary by 25% only to keep the show going. He said, "We're the third highest scripted show. We're winning the night." But it didn't work. Tom's health started to fail by 2025. He looked very different when he was 80. His buddies claimed he appeared drunk, messy, and had a stomach that hung over. He had once flown over his field on an ATV, looking at wildflowers and performing work with his hands. But now he could hardly move. He developed arthritis and had surgery on both knees in 2024. There were noticeable scars on both legs. The drugs, especially prednisone, made him hungry all the time, and his sadness made it worse. He began to eat fast food surreptitiously, hiding bags of chips and burgers. His pals were afraid he was going to eat himself to death. He was now close to 350 pounds at 6 feet 4 inches. Doctors told him he might already be resistant to insulin. He was at a high risk of having a heart attack, stroke, or worse because of his age, weight, and medications. His wife Jill stayed with him, although she was tired too. He didn't want to give up. He stated he was frightened of retirement, but specialists indicated he might not have a choice. Acting was too much for his body to bear. He still held on, though. He published his memoir, You Never Know, in May 2024. It was co-written with Ellis Henkin. In just one night, it became a bestseller. He told everything in 320 pages. He talked about his childhood, the Mae West parties, the jobs he turned down, how fame changed him, what he wished he had done, and what he didn't. This was the most honest time for him. CBS tried to keep the history alive with a spin-off of Blue Bloods in 2025 called Boston Blue, which starred Donnie Wahlberg. Tom wanted to be a part of it. He implored. He pushed. But those who knew him felt his health might keep him from doing it. He needed aid to walk. His team didn't say anything. Wahlberg added there might be cameos because New York and Boston are near to each other. But everyone knew it would be hard. People around Tom thought he might finally go by 2026. He didn't want to, but his body was shutting down. He needed to focus on his intellect. He needed a reason to live. But his knees, heart, and weight were all begging for a break. That ranch, which used to make him feel good, suddenly felt like a burden. He was afraid of losing it. "I need to keep working enough to keep the place," he remarked. But time was going by quickly. His friends said he would soon vanish into that ranch. Tom, his wife, and memories that stretched across 63 acres of solitude, far from Hollywood and cameras.